Hello, Max. How are you today?
Good, mate. Good to see you.
Good. I'm so excited to speak with you about this movie, but I want to take it back a second. Where did you first fall in love with the horror genre? Even though this isn't straight up a horror movie, what were your early loves of the horror genre?
Um, I love that question. I've always loved horror movies actually since I was like a little kid. Um, I'm trying to think of something original, not just what everyone else says. I mean, I don't know if this qualifies as a horror movie, but I remember seeing Body Double at like 12 years old, the Brian De Palma movie, and that completely traumatizing me. And when I think of being disturbed
Mhm.
by a film, that's always the movie that comes back. Yeah,
That's De Palma had a way of doing that with his films.
for
Now,
sure.
what
Yeah.
attracted you to Spiral? Was it your time to play with the blood and guts, or did you want to solve the mystery?
That's a great question. I mean, I was really pleasantly surprised to discover the detective story element in the script. I thought it was very clever
Mhm.
to bring that into the Saw franchise. And I grew up on movies like that. You know, I grew up on these buddy cop films that they don't really make anymore. And I'm nostalgic for them and miss them just as an audience member. So it was really fun to get to actually sort of be in one.
Yeah, I definitely felt this movie was 48 hours with gore. So I
Yeah.
think speaking of that buddy cop aspect, how was it working with Chris Rock? Was your chemistry as great on set as it was on camera? Because you two have fire together.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we got along really well from the outset, and it was a relief because we didn't really know each other before the movie. We'd met once very briefly, but it was, it's always a little bit of a risk when you make a movie of somebody, whether, it's a romantic movie or a buddy movie, whatever it is, when you don't know the person before.
Mhm.
So it was lucky that we found a kind of good rhythm.
Absolutely. You can just tell it pops off on screen and there's a good aspect. Was there any funny moments on set that you guys had to, even with all the madness happening, just stop and laugh at something crazy?
Well, Chris would crack me up a lot. I would just try and sort of keep myself off camera. Like his very first scene with Angie in the movie, where he's sort of shouting at everybody, would just destroy me. But luckily, I don't enter that scene until the end of it. So you can, in the dailies, you can hear me just giggling with my mouth closed.
I could imagine. He seems like an energy on set, but you all had this kind of vibe on set. I'm glad to hear that. Now, going to the script of this film, did you reading it, were you trying to figure out the mystery while you were reading it, or did you kind of have an idea of where the story was going?
Well, it's I think it's slightly different to the other Saw movies in that it has a twist, but that's not the it doesn't depend on it maybe quite
Hmm.
in the same way. I would say that this movie is much more driven by character and relationships and theme. And that was really the thing that resonated with me the most when I first read it, was how interesting the each character's arc is and how much everyone changes over the course of the movie. Even in the first 45 minutes of the film, I feel like Will goes from this very clumsy, sort of goofy kid to somebody who's sort of finding their feet. And that was really fun to play. Um, so it's got a lot of layers to it, I think.
No, absolutely. I can tell that there. I never thought a Saw film would feel like a character study, but this
Yeah.
had those elements to it. Now,
Yeah.
to wrap this up, was there a particular trap or anything on set that kind of intimidated you? Did you see something of like, what the hell are we doing today?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see a trap, you kind of get that feeling, to be honest. But the subway trap was by far the coolest, just because they built the whole set. That
So
wasn't
cool.
there. I mean, I felt it was like going to Universal Studios or something. It was
Mhm.
amazing. And the traps are functional. They're these incredible works of engineering. So they did a really beautiful job with that.
I never knew they were like functional, so that's good to know. Thank you so much for speaking with
Of
me,
course,
Max.
mate.
It was